Adults, what has ruined a friendship? Never reaching out on getting together. I was always the one asking if they were available to hang out. They were always willing to do something, and we always had a good time, but after a while it felt like a one-way street. Once I stopped with the invites, and they just fell off the face of the planet. Every once in a while a Facebook comment, haven't seen you forever. Let's hang out soon, or a big party situation, like a birthday. But that's where it stopped. I've had this happen multiple times in my adulthood. Wait, maybe I'm a problem? No, they suck. That's the problem.
It's annoying when you put in the effort but others don't reciprocate. I had a friend like that too. Always waiting for me to reach out, but when I stopped, they just vanished. They'd throw in a comment here and there, but it felt empty. It gets you thinking if it's something you did. Probably not. Some people just don't value the friendship like you do.
Distance more than anything. Once you get out of school, you're no longer bound together with your friends by a common institution. People get job offers or go to grad school other places, moving around the country. It gets harder to keep in touch. If you're lucky, you get to visit your good friends a couple times a year.
I can relate to that. After college, my group started spreading out for jobs. We used to hang out every weekend, but now it's just a few texts here and there. It's tough when you're not surrounded by the same faces anymore. Sometimes I think about how nice it would be to just grab a drink like we used to, but life just pulls everyone in different directions.
Every time she would call, it would launch into a let's hear about me, my child, and how nobody is as tired as me because I'm a single mother. I get it, we all need to vent every once in a while, but just because I don't have a child doesn't mean I can't be tired, school, full-time work, etc. I finally called her out on it and moved on.
It's tough when friends don't realize everyone has their own struggles. I had a friend like that too, always revolving around her life. I let it slide for a while, but eventually I pointed it out. It's important to remind folks that we all need a little balance in the conversation. Sometimes you just have to walk away from those one-sided talks.
Lack of communication on both ends. When you're in school, you see each other every day, so you're besties. Maybe you don't talk over summer vacation, but as soon as you get back to school, you're OMG BFFs. But when you both have separate jobs and go to different colleges and have opposing schedules, both people have to make an effort to stay friends by hanging out or texting or whatever. There are a lot of friends that end up lost because one of the two people involved just doesn't make the effort to stay in touch.
It's true, I had a friend like that. We were close in high school, seeing each other daily. But after graduation, we drifted apart. Both of us got busy with work and school. We meant to catch up, but life got in the way. I think we waited too long. It's a shame how easily friendships can fade when communication stops. You realize only one of us was really trying to keep it alive.
Selfishness. People grow up and priorities change. I have a family and am willing to make time for certain friends and less time for others. Everyone else does too, so the Venn diagram of people I care to make time for and people who care to make time for me becomes a de facto friendship limiter.
I get it. Life happens and priorities shift. When you have a family, the time you have is pretty much booked. The friends who understand that stay close, while others drift away. It's a natural process, really. We all end up with a tighter circle as we figure out who matters most to us in our busy lives. It's about finding that balance and valuing the connections that still count.
A friend of mine borrowed $100 from me. The next few weeks, she was chasing some dude around spending money instead of paying me back. Well, I talked to her about it. She didn't see her part at all. It was her money, and she could do whatever with it. I cut ties with her shortly after that. I should have cut her loose when she made the joke about me having been homeless in the past.
It's tough when a friend doesn't prioritize paying you back. It was clear she wasn't seeing the bigger picture. Chasing after someone else instead of handling her debts can be frustrating. I get why you chose to cut ties. The joke about your past was out of line too. It's better to surround yourself with people who respect you. Sometimes, cutting connections is necessary for your own peace.
The dude was one of my closest buds. We hung out all the time, were dedicated gym partners, went out together every weekend, had more heart-to-hearts than anyone could ever count. Then he met a girl, they went on a date, and he called me all excited about it. That was the last time I heard from him. He stopped answering calls and texts. Everything he posted on social media was about her and the stuff they were doing together. I thought we were both adults, but abandoning your friend for a relationship is pretty low.
It's tough when a friend gets into a relationship and suddenly vanishes. You think you have this close bond, but then everything shifts. It's like one day you're gym buddies, and the next, you're just an afterthought. I get wanting to invest in a new relationship, but a friend should still matter. It's disappointing when the connection fades like that. Makes you wonder if it was ever as strong as you thought.
Just growing up. Things change and I hate it. I used to be inseparable with my two best buddies. We did everything together. We saw Star Wars EP3 after waiting in line forever. We played all kinds of video games together. We did everything together. And then we all started hitting our 20s and began our lives. One guy went to fly drones for the USAF, and me and the other dude quit hanging out because I started getting high a lot and he wasn't into drugs. I haven't talked to either dude in 10 years. It's so weird. I swear, we were always together. And very suddenly, we just stopped hanging. It makes me really sad.
It's tough to see friendships fade like that. You have these great memories, and then life takes everyone in different directions. It sounds like you really valued those times. Sometimes, people just grow apart without even realizing it. It can leave a weird feeling when you think about it. You hope for a sort of reunion, but it just doesn't happen. It's a strange feeling to miss something that was once a big part of your life.
I find that as I approach middle age, the people I know fall into two categories. Those that strive to have their lives fit their dreams, and those that prefer to have their dreams fit their lives. The difference grows larger as you become older, and it gets harder to bridge the divide. Eventually, your friendships on the other side just drift away.
That's pretty relatable. I've seen it with friends too. Some are chasing big goals, while others are fine just going with the flow. It's interesting to watch those dynamics change over time, especially as life gets more complicated. You start to realize who really vibes with you and who doesn't. It can feel strange when those friendships fade away, but I guess that's part of growing up.
Constant negativity. Always telling me, that'll never work, why even bother? Shitting on my taste in music, then when I make a joke about his, going off his head at me. Superior attitude to everyone around him. Putting rules on when we can or can't hang out. In the end, it all just got to be too much.
It sounds like you had to deal with a pretty tough friend. Constant negativity can really wear you down, especially when someone tries to control the fun. It's rough when someone can't just support what you like. Sometimes you just have to step back to protect your vibe. It's about keeping the good energy around you. Better to let go than drown in someone else's heavy mood.
Was the best man and my best friend from work's wedding. She ended up cheating on him with another coworker of ours, knew about it for a while, and tried to give her the chance to tell him first. When I finally did tell him, our hangouts went from 1 to 2 a week to 1 a month. I told him I understood if we didn't get to hang out again. Just sucks that being the friend and the bearer of bad news, and I'm the one that lost a friend here.
That's a tough spot to be in. You want to do the right thing and support your friend, but it ends up costing you the friendship in the long run. It's hard to see someone you care about get hurt, especially when you're the one who has to break the news. Just shows how complicated relationships can be, even among friends.
I got engaged. I was apparently supposed to be psychic, know that my friend was close to achieving the same. She wasn't, and my partner and I were supposed to wait in perpetuity until she got engaged, and then an appropriate amount of time passed that she would not be angry with me for getting on with my life. She told me I stole her thunder, while I waited to find a really nice way to disengage, because girls, am I right? She told me I was losing my friend privileges for my behavior. I basically high-fived myself and then did a happy dance in front of a few sympathetic friends. Drama-free ever since, and so much happier to be rid of that friend.
Sounds like a pretty messy situation. It's wild how some friendships come with those kinds of expectations. You got engaged, and instead of celebrating, it turned into a whole thing. It's good you found some relief after cutting ties, though. Must have felt freeing to not deal with that drama anymore. Sometimes you just have to focus on your own happiness, and not get caught up in someone else's issues.
Borrowing money and never repaying it. Bonus douche points for lying about sending the money in the mail. Had a good friend of over 10 years borrow money from me to pay the rent. Never paid me back, and lied about sending the money to me. After about a year of patiently waiting and asking for it back a few times, I finally stopped talking to him. That was about 10 years ago. If he contacts me, pays me back, and apologizes, I'll consider it done and buried. But until then, I consider our friendship ended.
That's a rough situation. It's tough when a longtime friend does something like that. Trust can really take a hit. It's weird how money can change things. You thought you were helping, but it backfired. Seems like it's been a long time for you to move on. If he ever reaches out, it might be worth hearing him out, but it's understandable to set boundaries too.
It's relatively easy to ruin a friendship as an adult since our lives get fuller, rendering individual friends more and more dispensable, and one's tolerance for toxic and self-absorbed behavior goes way down. I can't tell you how many people I was super close to in my teens and or early 20s I now consider to be intolerably self-centered. They always behave that way. I just found it a lot more acceptable.
It's true that as we get older, we start seeing people differently. Friends we once thought were great can turn out to be pretty self-absorbed. I had a friend like that. We were tight back in the day, but as life got busier, their constant need for attention really got to me. It's funny how perspective changes. What seemed normal before just isn't worth it anymore.
Introducing him to my sister, who was married but getting divorced, and falling in love with her despite my warnings that the women in my family are known to be, not very loyal. They got married, and about 18 years later, he finds out she's been screwing around on him for about 5 years, at least. But that didn't ruin our friendship. No, it was when I visited her and met her new husband. He found out about that, and it was like I betrayed him or something. What? Does he think I will never talk to her again? She's my sister, even if she is a cheating whatever.
It's wild how things turn out. You tried to look out for your friends and family, but life has its own plans. He fell hard for your sister, even after you warned him. Years later, the truth about her came out, but it somehow turned your friendship upside down. It's a tough spot, balancing loyalty to family and friendship. But you can't just cut ties over her choices. Life's complicated like that.
Getting sick and winding up housebound. I lost touch with so many people. Chatting online and on the phone just isn't enough to make up for those years I couldn't make it out anywhere, and when I did I fell asleep all the time. It hurt, but I can't say that I can really blame them. Maybe I would have interpreted that as not caring were I in their shoes too.
It's tough being stuck at home and losing touch with friends. I get it. You think about how things might have been different if you had more energy to hang out. Those missed connections can feel heavy. But it's also natural for people to drift when life gets busy. It's not always about not caring. Sometimes, it's just how life goes. You adapt, but it leaves a mark.
Alcoholics Anonymous. About 4 months ago, I lost a really good friend to that program. Alcohol didn't consuming her life the way AA is. She never reached for the bottle right after waking up, the way she reaches for AA. She'd drink maybe once a week, once every other week, but when she did, she would get really wasted. Her family pressured her into going into AA, which is ironic because she is far and away the most sober of them all. She now goes to at least 3 meetings every workday.
It's tough seeing a friend change like that. She was never the one with the problem, yet now she's in meetings all the time. Sometimes it feels like AA became her new addiction. The pressure from family can really shift someone's reality. It's a strange situation where she ended up feeling less free even though she was the one who seemed to manage things better.
Awkwardness. When a friend gets blackout drunk and loses her underwear in a bar, and you have to help her to the car and drive her to another friend's house so her parents won't find her drunk. Then she ignores your text probably because she is embarrassed. Fast forward a few months, and we don't even talk anymore.
That's definitely a tough situation to be in. Helping a friend when they're in that state is no fun. It feels like something that could have brought us closer, but sometimes those moments can push people apart, especially if there's shame involved. It's weird how things can change so quickly like that. Now you look back and it's just a distant memory.
He let our 6 years friendship go down the drain, but not after coming down here to see me and having me work hard in order to buy a ticket to go see him in Minnesota in order to hang out. Once I left his place, he started to detach himself, feel the relationship, and telling me I had to accept this. I'm not sure if he was being insane or not. I haven't really heard his voice since last year, and there's no rekindling. It's weird how it's someone you used to talk to every day suddenly became the person you no longer know. Life is a bit funny, but it's a lesson learned.
It's crazy how people change. 6 years of friendship can vanish just like that. You put in the effort to see him, and then he just pulls away. It's hard to accept when someone you knew so well becomes a stranger. It's a weird lesson in how relationships can fade. You realize not every connection lasts, no matter how much you want it to. Life moves on, I guess.
Passive aggression and not being able to communicate well when issues come up. When I really decided to work on myself as a person, cut the negative self-talk and pursue my goals in a real way, and realized that some of my friends were just going to stay in a negative spiral of believing nothing good would ever happen to them, and it wasn't my job to fix their mindset for them. Also, acting on sexual interest in one another despite knowing that it wasn't going to work out well for the friendship. I went into it against my better judgment, and it amplified tension in the friendship in a way that we never really could get over. Also, it kind of sucks when a friend you care about gets enmeshed in a relationship with someone you don't know, who isn't interested in knowing you, and doesn't seem to have much regard for you. Uneasy face.
It's tough when you're trying to better yourself, but your friends don't see things the same way. I had a situation where I had to step back. The tension after mixing friendship with something more just made everything awkward. Plus, it's never easy watching a good friend get wrapped up with someone who doesn't care about the people in their life. You can't fix their mindset, and sometimes you have to let go.
Network marketing and pyramid schemes. I could be my own boss. Don't you want as well? Come join me in my success. You only need $1,000 to start. Come on, would I lead you astray? Why don't you want to do this? Friends who get into a stupid business and insist that you're betraying them if you don't join.
I've had a friend who got really into one of those network marketing schemes. It was kind of crazy. He kept pushing me to join, saying it was a great opportunity. I didn't want to get involved, but he acted like I was letting him down. Eventually, he stopped asking, but it was awkward for a while. Not everyone sees the same potential, I guess.
Selfishness. She is a singer/performer/songwriter. Many performances of hers, oh no, I'm expected to come. But the reverse isn't true. She has no time for my writings, ever, even the smallest ones that will take 3 minutes to read. Another one, known him for 20 years. He got married, and that's it. I got dropped like I didn't matter. No contact whatsoever. Egos, bunch of them, will not call/mail first. I have to be the one to keep friendship alive. If not, nothing happens ever. I need better friends. Uneasy face.
It's tough when friendships feel one-sided. You support your friends, but they don't return the favor. It's draining to be the one always reaching out. I get that feeling of being dropped, especially after years of connection. Seems like some people only care about themselves. Maybe it's time to focus on finding friends who appreciate you and reciprocate the effort. Quality over quantity, right?
Parenting style conflicts. I won't hang out with people I can't expose my kids to for one reason or another: drug use. Loudly racist/homophobic, sexually inappropriate, violent, etc. And also I find it hard to be around people who clearly don't make the best choices for their kids. Makes me lose any respect I had for them to see them mistreat their kids or make selfish choices.
I get that. I've had friends who didn't seem to care about their kids' well-being. It's tough hanging out with them when you see their bad choices. I've had to distance myself too. Can't really relate when priorities are so mismatched. It really shapes how you view a person, especially as a parent. I just want to be around people who respect their kids and have the same values as I do.
It might have just happened. A friend I thought of as nearly family didn't invite me to his wedding and didn't even tell me he was having it in the next month. I found out by accident. Edit. Turns out he invited all the friends we hung out with together, but not me. They're all shocked and uncomfortable.
That's a tough situation. It's rough when someone you consider close cuts you out like that, especially for something as significant as a wedding. It makes you wonder what happened behind the scenes. I guess it shows how some friendships can change. It's not easy seeing others included while you're left out, and it can create some awkward dynamics among the other friends too.
I do real estate. I was showing one of my good friends' properties for about a month. Then I stopped hearing from him. I found out through my other friends that he bought a house. I finally see him again and confront him and ask what's up with the new house, and he literally said, "Well, I didn't want to ruin our friendship, so I just wanted to buy my house through someone neither of us knew." I didn't even have a response for him. Just walked away and haven't spoken since.
That's a strange situation. You spend time helping someone, then they go behind your back like that. It's tough when friendships mix with business. Sounds like he thought he was protecting your relationship, but it just ended up being awkward. Sometimes people make decisions that don't really make sense, and it leaves you wondering what went wrong. It's a bummer when things like this happen.
A friend's BF cheated on her and came to me for consolation, which I gave along with support. As in, she texted me at the wee hours super upset, and I would respond. I would meet her at work so she could cry on my shoulder. I would take her out for drinks to get her mind off of it. I let her know that she could stay at my place if she needed out of the house, etc. 2 weeks later, he Facebook messages her. He didn't even call and apologizes. And she forgave him and conceded that she needed to work on herself while making up for lost time with him. I didn't stop talking to her, but I certainly lost a lot of respect for her. She's super awesome and could easily score someone better than that loser.
It's rough seeing a friend go through that. I tried to support her as much as I could. We had those late night talks, and I was there when she needed to vent. But then he just messaged her, and she took him back like it was nothing. I get that people make mistakes, but it felt like she was settling. It's hard to watch someone you care about get pulled back into something unhealthy.
Thank you. I have old money, a good job, and plenty of successful investments. So, I feel inclined to help friends that are less fortunate and or have money issues. I have about $20,000 out on loan, and I'm afraid I will never see any of it. It really does hurt friendships, but it's not exactly about the loss of money. They have all lied to me on payback dates, etc. The worst part is now I'm not sure when I can trust people. Sadly, that makes me afraid to be generous. And I never want to be a selfish dick.
It's tough when money strains friendships. I had a similar situation once. I lent a friend some cash, expecting them to pay me back. They kept delaying, and I realized they were just avoiding the truth. It changed how I viewed our friendship. Trust gets hard to rebuild after that. Now I think twice before helping out. It's a balancing act between being generous and protecting yourself.
A good policy. Mine is similar. Any money I give to a friend is a gift. Any money they give me is a loan. I find the benefits of being a generous and reliable friend are much greater than having money. Same goes for favors. I would rather be the friend that you can call in the middle of the night to drive you home than have a good night's sleep and you need a walk.
That's a solid perspective. It's good to see things as gifts rather than transactions. Builds trust in friendships. I get what you mean about being that reliable friend. It feels better knowing you're there for someone when they need help, rather than just focusing on your own comfort. It's those moments that genuinely strengthen bonds.
I had a friend who did that. I'm getting married. She originally said that she was going to go to my hen do and all the wedding. Then she changed her mind about the hen do, saying she couldn't afford it, even though I offered to pay. Then she said that she would only go to the ceremony, not the reception, because they're at different locations. She doesn't have a car, even though I'm putting on transport, and told her this. Then she said she wasn't going to any of it because her boyfriend's friend is getting married on the same day.
It sounds like a tough situation. Friends sometimes don't show up as we expect. It's frustrating when you try to include someone, and they keep making excuses. Getting married is a big deal, and you'd want your close friends there, especially for special moments. It makes you reconsider the value of those friendships. Sometimes it's better to focus on the people who genuinely want to celebrate with you.
I'm really happy you posted this because it's a huge problem for me, as in it's something I do a lot, and I didn't realize how bad I was, and didn't realize how much I was pissing people off until I read all of these responses. Yes, I'm an ass, but it's something I want to fix because I don't want to piss off my friends as much as I probably am. I guess I just had this mentality of no one's really going to care if I go, so I'd always bail if I just didn't feel up to something.
Yeah, I get that. I had a friend who always flaked out on plans. It didn't really hit him until everyone started mentioning how it affected our hangouts. He thought it was no big deal, but it kind of left us feeling like we didn't matter. Eventually, he realized he needed to change that and started showing up more. It's cool he wants to fix it though. Shows he values the friendships.
It gets harder to keep in touch. I know I'm guilty of this too, but I often wonder how true this is really. It may have been the case 15 plus years ago when you had to call and hope you got each other or write long letters and send through the mail, which can be time consuming. But we're at a time where communication has never been easier. How much time do you spend idly scrolling through the same drab Facebook feed you just checked 10 minutes ago? Couldn't this time be used to reflect on those you haven't chatted with a while and at least just shoot a text message? Like I said, I'm definitely very guilty of this as well, but objectively I wonder how much of it is really no more than an excuse.
It's interesting to think about. We've got all this tech to connect, but still drift apart. I catch myself scrolling too, thinking about friends I haven't talked to in ages. Sometimes a simple message gets lost in the shuffle, even though it could really mean something. It's ironic how easy it is to reach out, Yet some of us just don't. I guess it's a mutual thing, just life getting in the way.
I wish you could trust your friends more. You sound just like a friend who faded out on me, almost certainly because he was ashamed of his anxiety/depression. I would have been happy to spend whatever time I could with him and let him talk about his problems or not. There's really no reason to be embarrassed. Everyone's got some shit going on in their life. But I guess he was too far into his illness to believe that anyone really cared.
I get it. It's tough when friends pull away because they're dealing with their own battles. It makes you wish they'd open up. I had a friend who went through something similar, dropped off the radar, and I had no clue how to reach out without seeming pushy. Sometimes just knowing someone is willing to listen can make a difference. But they have to be ready to talk, and that can take time.
And if they're not going around to relatives to show off their own babies that weekend, they've already made plans to go see another relative's kid. Every weekend is dinner with grandma, little Jamie's softball game, Olivia's dance classes open house, baby Bailey's tutu tea party, Aunt Tina's magic vitamin water pyramid scheme party, etc. Family is awesome and incredibly important, but I have stay-at-home mom friends who I am willing to take time off work to see. And their kids, too. I'd love to meet the little people they've created and are raising and pouring their hearts into. And the response is always some variation of, "Oh, you know, this is just a really busy month for us, and we have plans with family every weekend already, but we'll call you as soon as we figure things out." A dozen times in a row and no intention to actually follow up.
I get it. Friends with kids often seem tied up with family stuff. You want to hang out, but schedules fill up fast. It's like their calendar is just packed with activities. And when you finally reach out, it's always a busy month excuse. Sometimes you just wish they'd make a little time for you too. It's tough finding that balance between family commitments and friendships.
Definitely. My brother's best friend had cystic fibrosis and was in and out of hospital a lot, and he rarely had more than a couple of friends visit him while he was in there. When he was out with friends or clubbing, they had all the time in the world for him. When he died, those were the people sobbing at his funeral, saying on Facebook how they missed their best friend, but when he was alive and needed his friends to be with him, the majority weren't there. It sucked to see it.
That's a tough situation. It's like you realize who really cares when things get rough. It's sad how people often show up only when it's convenient for them. It can be pretty disheartening to watch real friendships fade away when someone needs support most. That kind of thing leaves a mark on everyone involved. Life has a way of revealing true colors sometimes when it's too late.
I was diagnosed with a heart issue at 28. I got really sick really fast, and it was several months before I rebounded on meds and regained some normalcy. Several friends stopped calling me, and my own mother told me not to talk about my condition because it was too depressing. They all mostly came back when I was better and acted like nothing ever happened. People are shitty and they're selfish. They don't know how to handle bad news that isn't their own to milk. I'm sorry everyone was awful to you. You deserve better. Love.
It's tough when people turn their backs during difficult times. I had a friend go through something similar. He was dealing with a serious illness, and a lot of people just disappeared. It was like they didn't know how to handle it. It was rough for him, but once he got better, those same folks came back. It really shows how some people can be, huh? Life's complicated that way.
Please consider subscribing if you enjoyed. Love.